which is very common. I'll go over that a little bit today. There are a couple others, and what I thought you kind of introduce you to is to the different ways of being able to draw a face from memory, which will hopefully help you guys if you're just drawing characters out of your head, or if you're drawing a portrait of somebody that you is sitting for you. It'll get you into the ballpark of the correct proportions. And then I'll go over some techniques on how to use. I use a little bit of something called what's is commonly known as the Loomis method. I didn't really know it was the Loomis method until later. I was like, oh, I do that all the time. So, but people have been looking at different proportions of the head and the body over time, all the way since the Renaissance, and kind of go over some of those too. So first, any questions? Does anybody have any issues or anything like that? If it's just to me, you can just pop it into the chat, or if it's more of a general topic that you'd like to share with everybody, go ahead and let me know. You can kind of also interrupt, during the class. It's fine too. Okay. Anybody have any burning issues?
I just want to be clear. It says, so there are 3 parts to this assignment?
Yes.
And let me see if I got them right.
I'm gonna put it in the chat too.
A self-portrait, a portrait of someone else, and the back of somebody's head.
Not the back of somebody's head, the side of their head.
Oh.
Oops. Not the back, just the side. So let me go back.
Why didn't you say profile?
Didn't I say profile?
I don't think so.
I definitely would not have you draw the back of the head. So
yeah, it didn't make sense to me either.
Yeah, it wouldn't make sense to me either. So let me put it in the chat. I'm just going to type it right now. I hope I have not put the back of the head. Does anybody else have that too? Okay. So you're going to do a self-portrait, which is going to be the frontal view. And that's the one that we went over the proportions of the face and like the eye line, and we'll use some of those proportions today as we do a 3/4 view. So the 3/4 view, oops, is going to be, there are a couple of drawing or photos that I've put up on the assignment with a 3/4 view, but I thought if you guys want to just pick your own, you can do that, and I'll go over what that means. So you can use provided photos, and then the profile, it can be a web search or a person, okay. Okay, so that's the portraiture, and the portraits, and I'm going to clarify this again, the portraits are, all 3 are due on the 22nd for a Monday review of next week. Okay, so it's in the chat, everybody, if you guys can double check that, and I will, after class, I'll double check the assignment to make sure that I did not put to draw somebody from the back, although I suppose that's useful if you're drawing like crowds or something. So let me do a share. Okay, so this is a little bit of a mixed bag here. What I did was I loaded some of the drawings that were already done in terms of the portraits, and then I added the rest of the perspective drawings. So I think that this is Alice. Alice, are you here?
Yeah.
Alice, it looks really good. Tell us about how it went.
I just was having a hard time with the eyes, but I think it was because I was trying to make longer lashes. I thought it would look better.
Um,
But
yeah,
that's the only weird thing that was sorry. Yeah, that's the only thing that I was struggling with.
okay. Yeah, I think if you guys have any feedback, you can definitely leave it in the comments or the chat. Um, the eyes look. I mean, everyone's eyes are slightly different. I would say the lashes are a smidge overdone, but you know, that's just, I think the proportions are really right now what I'm looking for. In terms of the eyes, they do look a little bit like the, you know, the kind of generic eye shape, um, which some of us have generic eye shape. It's fine, you know, and some of us just have really simple shapes. So every eye is a little bit different. Some of the things that what I appreciate is that you included your tear duct in there, which gives everybody a little bit of a uniqueness. And that also, it looks like you've got a good proportion where the eyes are in the center and the top of the head and the bottom of your chin. So, and I like how you did the shading too, and the use of the eraser looks really good. So nice work.
Thank
Okay, and let's move on. Now this one is Elena, I believe. Elena, are you here? Elena. I don't think she's with us today, so we'll kind of scooch along there. This is Ayana. Ayana, are you here? Oh man, we're missing our people. Okay, so Ayana's not here. It looks like Ayana did all three. So this is the 3/4 view, and that's her her portrait. Okay. And those were the only portraits that were submitted that I found. I think Angie, you also did one. Let me Angie, are you here? Yeah, it looks like Angie's here. So
Yeah, I'm here. I did the 3/4 view.
yeah, it looks like you did the 3/4 view. Let me change share. Yeah, this is your 3/4, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks really good. So
Yeah,
you,
it's not quite finished yet. I still have to finish like the jewelry, but I think after that I'll be done.
okay, cool. Have you drawn portraits before?
I have not in like this much detail. No, I have like I think I've done like noses and like mouths and stuff. Like I've done those before.
Okay. Yeah, just some feedback for you, like just in terms of the septum of the nose and the center of the lips. The lips are a smidge off to the right.
Okay.
So they could kind of scooch over a little bit this way.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, but otherwise, I think you handled the proportions pretty nicely. It's a good likeness of the person. Um, and this was sort of like a very subtle 3/4 view, but I think you handled it nice. You got the eye a little bit closer to the nose, which is something we'll go over a little bit today.
Mhm.
And yeah, the thing about the irises, we almost never see the entire iris. And so I like that you have that kind of hidden by the eyelids there. So it's a nice job on this.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any other comments that you want to say about it?
Um, I think yeah, the proportions were definitely like the hardest part for me. Like it was hard to do it perfectly.
Mm-hmm. Well, everyone's face is a little bit different, but just so long as you follow some of those proportions, which I'll reiterate today, except a little bit differently. And once you guys kind of memorize those proportions, it's easy to follow. And then pretty much whomever you draw will always be more or less the same. You have like a core to go off of. So what I wanted to look at were some of the perspective drawings that I think were that were turned in after the fact. Jocelyn, did we look at this last time? Do you remember?
Yeah, that was the first one I did that I turned in last week.
Right. Okay. And then this is, I think this is yours too, Jocelyn, right? So we,
That's the second one that I turned in yesterday.
right.
Yeah.
Did we critique it last time?
No.
Okay, so do we critique this?
That one we did, yeah.
Okay, but this one not?
No.
No, okay. So so it looks good. Here's some tips. So you've got the overall perspective kind of the shape of the room going really well. The place where it starts to get funky is on your window.
Yeah, I was having like a little hard time with that one.
Yeah, so here's a quick way to cheat and figure out how to do it. So this line right here, can you see my mouse at all?
Yeah.
Okay, so you see this line right here that's coming up, that's the ceiling edge and the ceiling corner. And then right here's the floor corner, the floor and the wall. So these lines are your guides. And so more or less, this line is going to kind of be almost parallel to this one, but it's going to start to fan out. So this one is the most correct of all the lines. Then this one would actually kind of go like that. This one would go like that. And so as you move, so you see how this line is coming down like this, and
Yeah.
your horizon line is like right about here. So that line on the horizon line, those lines should be pretty much straight across, like this. Oops, sorry. And like this. And then the lines that from the window that go up toward the ceiling, those should start to fan upwards ever so slightly to match the same angle as the ceiling. And then below the horizon line, below the flat line, they will start to fan down. Do you see what I'm saying? So they would go like this, this, flat, oops, sorry, flat, and then up and up, but not down. So I think it's not that you noticed it wrong, I think that you translated it wrong onto your drawing. So that's all. It's just kind of like remembering the rules. And in terms of wrongness and rightness, it just has to do with the congruence to the lines that you've already established in your building here. So, but beyond that, you did a great job on these guys, and keep clicking. And it was kind of a difficult one to draw, especially with this crazy horned chair. So, so do you understand what I mean about the windows, though?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you for turning that in. Okay, and now this is Angie.
Yeah, that's mine.
Yeah, so Angie, where are we? Where's this?
It's in a cafe that I was in. I don't know if you've ever been to Communal.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I like the point of view. It looks like it was kind of like a funky, they put something on the ceiling, so there wasn't really a straight corner or anything that you were drawing, other than maybe this.
Yeah, it was there was like I don't even know what those are called, but there was like a big tube at the top. So it kind of made the ceiling kind of look tilted a little bit.
Right, so that's like one of those like air conditioning type kind of vents, right?
Yeah.
And what about this right here? Are those like hanging plant things? Or
There were a lot of hanging plants everywhere.
I think overall you did a nice job getting the perspective, especially like, so here's some of the visual cues that give us the impression of space. So like these struts across the back of the table right there is really good. Gives us an idea of where the space is, and also the foreshortened chair right here looks really nice, and this one as well. Top of the table, it looks a little bit kind of tilted up, which can happen sometimes. But yeah, sometimes in these spaces, one of the things that happens in malls, in some stores, and in restaurants is that there's an active attempt on behalf of the people who designed those spaces to kind of change your I'm gonna have to cover the bird in a minute, to change your perspective so that you lose track of time. So like in malls or in like a Macy's kind of store, things are organized in such a way as to give you the impression that there's sort of an endless array, an endless amount of stuff, and that there aren't really a lot of cues in a commercial space to give you the impression of where you are, how big some place is. I have to, give me a sec, guys. I'm gonna put a pause on my bird here. Sorry about that. And so drawing commercial spaces can sometimes be tricky because you also have to take into account that it's a space that is purposefully deceptive to the inhabitants. So like you'll notice like in stores or even in restaurants, there are no clocks on the wall anywhere. And that's true pretty much throughout. People don't want you paying attention to how much time is passing when you're in the space. So that's all to say that I think it was really a great choice and a really challenging choice that you picked to do kind of a commercial, like a cafe or even like a Starbucks or something like that. Those are less so, but yeah. Interesting drawing. Did you have any, did you feel like you had any troubles completing it when you were there? Stuff that stymied you or challenged you?
Yeah, yeah. I don't know if you can tell, but like the little details on the plants, there's actually like hanging wine glasses, and those
Yeah,
were really, really hard to draw. There were a lot of glasses on the shelves too, and
right.
I couldn't really get the glare.
And were there bottles and stuff on these shelves down below?
Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
So that would have been cool just to kind of fill out just kind of the function of these. I did read those as glasses because and then this looks like some kind of a wicker basket type of affair.
yeah. It was like a
Things are
basket
always,
sort.
yeah, cool. Well, interesting and really cool choice. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. This is Annabella. Are you here?
Yeah, I'm here.
So tell us about this. Did you use graphite?
Yeah, I used different types of pencil.
Yeah, great. So how did this go? It looks really nice. Looks really good.
Thank
Love
you.
the
Yeah, I had a hard t it actually went pretty well. I just kind of had a hard time with the buildings in the back. I didn't want to like get into the detail of the stone because I felt like that would have been super difficult. So I had a hard time like doing any of the shadowing. That's why they're kind of blank.
Yeah,
But
it's okay. I think that I think maybe intuitively or by just like you saying, yeah, I'm not going to do that. What's nice is that you created a contrast between this side of the drawing. Notice how like one of the compositional elements in that photo is that it's divided down the middle. And so we have this kind of stairs situation and a close-up over here, and then the distance in the past and on the left-hand side that's passing by here. And it's really nice contrast between the brightness of the buildings back here and also just the developed values on these guys right here.
yeah,
Yeah,
thank you.
yeah, I think it looks great.
Yeah, I just had a hard time with the plants too, especially that one in the front.
I think you did a
They
nice
were all
job.
like, super small, but
Mhm.
it was fun to do.
Yeah, it came out nice. I definitely appreciate all the shadow and the deep and the depth that you put into it. It's very rich drawing, which I think is something that you can capitalize on too. So nice work on this one.
Thank you.
All right. Now this is Ayana. Oh no, is this Ayana's? Ayana, are you here? Ayana? She's here, but maybe she can't hear me. So this is her interior. I can't say much about it. It looks like there's some kind of an open or exposed beam stuff there. Ayana, are you there? Okay, well, maybe next time we'll get Ayana. Oops, this one's sideways.
She's saying that her mic isn't working.
Oh, she is? Is that in the chat? Sorry,
Yes.
guys. My chat keeps going away. Okay. Okay, sorry, Ayana. I got you on the chat. My chat vanished. Sorry about that. Yeah, cool. Okay. I can go back. But so this looks like a personal space possibly, or like an office
Oh,
space.
my mic is working now. I
Oh,
got
cool.
it.
Okay, cool. So can you tell us about the place that this is your bedroom, office?
This is my sister's room,
Okay.
and the perspective is from the bed facing that one window with like the posters on the side.
Is this a window right here?
Yeah, that's like a curtain, and then
Oh, got
the
you. Okay.
bottom half is like the window.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, the perspective looks good. I think you've, what's nice is that you have you've got your, have you done perspective drawings before of spaces?
Like a really long time ago.
Okay. Yeah, I think intuitively you really kind of got it in terms of just how we're looking up at these different surfaces, looking up. You have your lines in the corners kind of climbing here, and then we can see the top of the desk, and these are diving down too. So it's a nice drawing. Could use a little bit more value, maybe some shadow to kind of give it some depth down in here, unless it wasn't very dark under the desk. But yeah, just is it like a wood ceiling or what's up on the ceiling?
Yeah, there's like beams on the top.
Okay. So those beams, did they meet the wall like down here? Did they kind of come down, or did they hide up in the wall? Like, were they above the ceiling? Looks like they were above the ceiling edge. These guys right here.
They're kind of like flat-ish on the ceiling.
Oh, I see. Okay. So they're not like full beams. They're just more, just like a little bit.
Yeah, they're really thin.
Okay, cool. Well, looks great. I like it. Just a little bit more value, but otherwise, great job. Oops. Okay, so here is Reagan. Sorry, it's sideways, guys. But so Reagan, this looks like a good start. Reagan, are you here? Yep. So it looks like a really good start on that one drawing. This part right here, I know we're sideways, but this part right here should match with the ceiling part. So I'd say it's about a quarter of the way there. So if you can keep working on it and submit, that would be great. Otherwise, we've just got about a quarter of the work done. But I think overall, just what you have is really strong in terms of identifying the perspective on that. So this is a nice job. Can you tell us a little bit about how it went or where you are in the drawing? Is your mic not working?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I just had a hard time trying to figure out the angles for the different things in the room.
Yeah. It was a pretty complex image to begin with, but right here, these lines right here, and I know we're sideways, those lines right there are really your ticket to the rest of the image. And so this could be a little bit steeper, I think. And then the top of this window here, looks like you zoomed in a little bit. This top of the window would actually match, or at least correspond to the line here on the ceiling. So just try to use those lines in your drawing as kind of cues on what happens next and where it happens. So, but great start. I would just say keep going. It looks really good. And then is this your outside one?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. So this looks good. Again, this was a difficult one. Kind of want to finish up in here on the stairs and try to, so this is a great beginning, but I would definitely keep going with it in terms of your value. Really like how you dealt with the wall here with your different techniques with the stippling. And you know, you might go in here and just try to put in a few leaves just to give it the impression that this operates really well as kind of like a generic kind of background, but then you can kind of come in there and put in some of those leaves if you were into it. But these are great. They're just keep going if you can, okay? But otherwise, good foundation on these. Whoops.
Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm having a mouse attack here. Okay, there we go. I think these are Xander's.
Oh yeah, this one's mine.
Okay. Whoops. Tell us a little bit about where we are.
Okay, so this one's the interior one. This one's at the San Alejo campus, America. So this is in the Cardiff Cafe.
Oh, all right, cool. So how were you standing up? I imagine this is where the student services is over in this area.
Over there was kind of like where the entrance to the cafeteria was, like where you order the food.
Oh,
and like off to the side on the right is kind of there wasn't really much there besides like a couple of chairs and like out of view from where I drew was like a vending machines.
Okay, so this is this the inside or this is the inside, right?
This is the inside, yes.
And then this is where you get your food up in here. And then there's
Yes.
coffee stuff and the condiments. Okay, now I know where we are.
Yes. I try to challenge myself by doing was a 3-point perspective.
Oh, okay.
So it's because I think near the entrance of where you enter the cafe, there's like this TV. And I thought, what if I just kind of like drew from that perspective, like if I was the TV and like looking down.
Oh, neat. I like that. So it's very like Kim Jong-ji, kind of developing that kind of fisheye view. It was very dynamic drawing. It really feels like it's a space that you were present in, paying attention to the details. I like how you dealt with the shadows. And I also like the confidence in your lines, which is really nice to see. So yeah, really cool challenge. I like it.
Yeah, thank you.
And then this is
This
is
is
exterior.
yeah, it's my exterior. This is outside of my apartment.
Okay.
The apartment complex I live in. So I kind of figured using the sidewalk as kind of my main point, as like the very focal point in the middle.
Right.
And
right.
then I think in the more like background, there's like this like little line, and I kind of use that as like the mid ground.
Right here.
Yes, because
Right.
that's
Yeah.
'cause I could kind of visualize the line when looking at it from my
Right.
perspective.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you did a nice job. It's definitely a place. And the one thing I've noticed, I don't know if you guys will notice this too, but like there's sort of there's a difference, like a perceptible difference when someone's drawing like a real place versus say like a made up place in their noggin.
Mhm.
And so I find that like there's just something like just this little detail right here and just like this and just stuff that maybe wouldn't occur to us until you get really kind of more in depth in terms of drawing from your own imagination. There's just something more kind of like rich about it, something that's more real. So like, for example, like this line here, the angle of this line, the angle of this thing, the subtlety of their change, it's also the same in your other drawing, which I appreciate, just like how you have these kind of, you got your 1, 2, and 3 points here, which is pretty neat. So really cool. Nice job. And I also like the shadows on was like a telephone pole or something, or
Oh, this is a tree.
a tree.
I
Okay,
tried
I
my
was
best to
looking-
do a tree.
No, I don't take it disrespect. No, I was looking at this part right here. So is that the rest of the tree going up, or like?
Yes, this is the rest of the tree going up. I'd say like the very dark spots are kind of like they are the shadows. I was
Right.
like, I'm not sure how I would convey it because they were kind of just sporadic.
Well, these definitely look like shadows around the trunk of a tree. Yeah, I was like, well, maybe there's like a telephone pole or something behind, because sometimes in buildings there's like light poles and God knows what.
Oh, yes.
Everywhere. So yeah, nice job. I like these a lot.
Thank you.
Okay, and here, I believe this is Spencer. Are you here, Spencer? I don't know if Spencer's with us or not, so I guess not. So this is what Spencer drew. Okay, and Brian, are you here? I don't think Brian's here today, but this is a photo of what he was drawing, and then this is the drawing. So yeah, off the bat, whoops. Oh man. I wanted to go back over Brian's, but I don't think Brian's here, so we can leave that until next time. Okay. So nice work, everybody. Again, please check the chat for those for the clarification on the due dates. But what I thought I would do is go over a 3/4 view with you, and I'm gonna and then kind of go over a profile and talk to you guys a little bit about the differences in techniques that you can use to capture different dimensions of the face. So let me do a little screen change here. Okay. Let's see how this goes. All right. Get my keyboard out of the way. All right. Give me a sec, guys. I'm going to steady my camera real quick. There we go. That's better. Okay. Okay. So actually, before I start this, I wanted to show you guys something which hopefully is not too shady of me, but because I'm really only supposed to share parts of texts, but I will give you guys a hot tip. I'm going to change my my share with you and go back over to our Canvas. So if you guys, I'll put it in student view so it looks like your view. Down below in the portraits, what I did was I put some PDF drawing resources, and I want to give you guys kind of a hot tip that I don't know if a lot of people know about. If you're ever looking for a resource online for a book, maybe you go to the bookstore, you peruse some books on how to draw, or you're in the library and you guys think, God, I wish I could have this book. What I want to give you guys a tip on is that you can look up, I think, almost any book now, and if you just type in the title and then put .pdf, it should come up with the full text. Now, one of the things they put on there is the text of the Anatomy for Sculptors. This is a fairly expensive book, but the thing is, like, it's good for you know, for a variety of different reasons. And this is like pretty much the whole text. And so if you guys want to get like a book to use digitally as a student, you can type in the title and then .pdf, and there will be, at some university or through Google or someone, there will be the full PDF scan of the book that you can review. Now, this is in a bit of a gray area in terms of it being like, you know, ideally they want you to purchase the book via, you know, Amazon or whatever, but so that's one of the things that I put up there for you guys. So it's called PDF Drawing Resources, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit about this, the Loomis method. This is a method, I think the guy's name Andrew, I can't remember what his first name was, but this is something that a lot of artists do. Like when I showed you the Kim Jong-ji video from last time, he uses a lot of this method. I find that my way of drawing different, I was trying to give you guys resources, like, you know, where could they go, where could I give you guys resources to go to find you know, different ways of kind of training yourself once the class is over. And so the Loomis method is kind of cool, which I'll go over today, and I use parts of it. I use parts of a lot of different methods, and so and I think that that's true of most artists. And so what I wanted to do is just sort of give you guys the heads up of where some of my information has come from. And we're going to go over this today because I think this is actually a really handy, I use this frequently as a mental note. And this is like the pin method, or what I just do is call it like the axis. And I ended up drawing like this even before I knew that this was like a formalized thing. And there's all these little cheats and kind of things that you can remember for drawing. So this is going to be kind of cool today when I go over it. But if you guys would like to look at the Loomis method in depth, go ahead and you can download or just kind of click on the Loomis method book here. And then the other book that I put up for you guys was this guy Ferragasso. He's a more kind of, I think this Ferragasso is from the like early 1900s or something. And a lot of these are just, these are books that have been put out by artists who were either commercial artists or they were actual practicing artists. Nicolaitis is another artist that I like. He's more of a fine artist. A lot of times these books right here I find to be really formulaic, and they end up creating sort of like the same looking, you know, bodies and faces over and over and over. So I just wanted to show you guys this and encourage you to look through these different guides and take what's useful. These are not like, you know, the seminal texts of anything. They're just really useful. And then the other thing that I found on YouTube is that people will take a book like this, or they'll take the Loomis method, they'll read it, and then they'll make like a YouTube series on it, and then they get lots of views. So if that's your thing, you know, you can find people who will pretty much take stuff that's already been done for them, and then they'll just pretty much make a YouTube video of it. But there's some really good proportional stuff to refer to here. Again, like I'm putting this up there for your guys' reference. When the class is over, of course, it won't be up there anymore. But if you guys can, you know, you can figure out where the link is, and that'll definitely help you out. So again, like, I just want you to know that, you know, I'm not trying to give you freebies here, even though I kind of am, but I do want you to be able to look at them while they're available in our class and learn what you can and take what's valuable to you. What makes sense to you? Not every artist is going to draw the same way. And I do find that, like, you know, there's those books on how to draw manga, how to draw anime, how to draw this, how to draw that. And you can follow those perfectly fine, and you'll learn the way that others do it. But what I want to encourage you guys to do is to find your middle ground, to find the place that you really find that you're like, you know, I like that so-and-so's method, I like so-and-so's method, and whatever. Try and figure out a method that you think is really useful for you, that works, and you know, that you can continue. So what I end up doing, guys, is I read a lot, I look at a lot of videos, I draw a lot mostly. And so one of the things I wanted to go over with you is I'm going to do some diagrams here. We can kind of do a draw along. So if you guys want to get your sketchbooks out, just so that you guys have this, you can do that. So the Loomis method, and I'll try to parse out where I'm drawing from, so I can give you guys different feedback. When we're doing just sort of like the face, right? The front of the face, like I showed you guys last time, right? If we draw an oval, okay, and these are our proportions, the eyes are always at the halfway point, okay? So half here, right? And this is where the eyes are always going to be in the middle. And then this, and so you can see if I were to draw another line down the center, the head is pretty much a bilaterally symmetrical form. So what happens over here happens over here, same thing, okay? And then a lot of times the general rule is to split this into thirds. I find that that it's slightly more complex, but if you split this area into thirds, you can kind of figure out where the nose stops. So the eyes are here, okay? And the eyes are usually, like, if you're going to do an eye, the eyes are usually going to be an eye's width apart, okay? So if I were to put another eye in here, it would be about like the third eye there in the middle. I know it looks funky, but there's like 1/3 here, and then you have the eyes here. Okay, I'll erase my eye so I don't have a funky looking drawing. And I went over this last week. People have different lengths of nose. Some people have long noses, some people have short noses, but more or less the nose is always going to end kind of in the middle. Now, I think in any number of techniques, what people have figured out is that if you want to kind of give yourself an idea for the nose, the nose usually, if you guys draw a straight line down from the inside of your eye, okay, that kind of will kind of line up with some of your nostrils. And like the Loomis method, what he does is he ends up creating like these bulbs for the nose that end right at that part there, and then another bulb here and another bulb here, and those are the nostrils. Okay, and then later you can come in here and kind of, you know, get, depending on what kind of nostrils you can have very flared nostrils or flat nostrils. I find that this space is a little bit too much for the lips, but lips are more or less about 1/3 between, and then you have the, what is that little bit called right there? I know it has a name, but I don't remember it. And also there's another way of drawing like these 3 circles on top, 1 circle underneath to get the lips. And then at this point, this is where, so if you were to go from your top of your ear over, that's kind of like where your eyebrow is, and at the bottom of your nose, from the bottom of your nose over, if you guys want to lay your pencil just across your face, like put it square up against your bottom of your nose and just guide it around, and you'll find that that's more or less the bottom of the ear. Okay. And the ear, and remember that the eyeball, your eyeball is actually all the way in here. So you're only ever going to see just a part of your iris, which is the colored part of your eye. And then the ears come down here. Okay. And that's just the basic tenets. So we have this at about halfway. And then we split this into thirds. We can go 1, and then 2, and then 3 would be the bottom of the chin, right? Okay. Well, 1, 2, 3, right? I usually end up letting this be like, it's more or less 1/3. I'm going to put the tilde there, which means more or less, right? More or less 1/3, right? And then more or less 1/3. Okay. So from the halfway point where your eyes are, then there's these 3/3, and then up here, that's just the head. And again, the reason we don't pay too much attention to the top of the head is because we read people's faces for signals about how they're feeling, if we're communicating our points. Yeah, Jamie, you can also do this with novels too. And then the other tool too that I, in terms of thinking about getting online resources, I know that I have a thing called, I don't know if I pay for it or not. It's an app that reads PDFs out loud. And I find that that's handy because I realized what I know about my learning, and what I'm responding to here. I'm kind of changing gears because I was reading Jamie's thing in the text about, I've done this with novels, English literature classes. I find like when I was taking Shakespeare, I had no idea what the heck they were saying. And when I read it, I was like, what is this? But when I heard it and I read it along with, so I went to the library and they had like the Shakespeare plays. And when you listen to the Shakespeare play while you were reading it, the inflection of the language and then reading it, just like, oh, that's what they're saying, right? Like somebody's like because you can tell if somebody's being insulted or somebody's being directed or someone's angry based upon the tonality of their voice, which helped me a lot. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool online resources. There's almost no excuse to not kind of engage, because there's just so many easy ways to do it. Like I end up kind of, in quotes, reading books on my way to school, when I go to work, because I have a bit of a drive from San Diego to Oceanside, and I have time to listen. And also the nice thing is I can rewind and re-listen to it just as I would, because I'm a slow reader anyways. So if that helps, I'm glad it's helping you guys. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about the 3/4 view, and then maybe even talk a little bit about this method of how to situate or how to figure out where a face is pointing. So for example, if I'm just doing this out of my imagination, the first thing you want to do is just draw a circle. So let's say I wanted to draw the face of somebody out of my imagination, or maybe I'm drawing from life. If I'm drawing from life, the first thing that I might want to do, and in fact, maybe what I'll do is I'll try this technique with our assignment. Yeah, I wish I had a 3/4 view. Let me see if I can scram up a 3/4 view image that's more or less useful. Should have done this before class. I thought that the last photo in our assignment would be a good choice, but for 3/4 view, I'm just looking up a black and white photo right now. Okay. All right. Images. I'm just looking up a photo of someone. This is a good one, I think. Okay, cool. So I'm going to throw this in the chat. So if you guys want to draw this along with me, you can. So if you look in your chat, you'll see that there's a 3/4 view image. And I'm just going to keep that open in the chat so that I can see what I'm doing. So one of the ways that this guy Loomis talks about is putting like a pin through the head at an axis. So if I were to look at the piece that I have picked out for you guys, and it's in the chat, and by the way, I'll put this guy also on Canvas for us. So if I'm looking at this photo here, and I'll change my share in case those of you who are not privy to the view. So this is what I'm going to try and draw today. I'm going to give this guy my best. And one of the things that I want to show you is looking at the axis of the face. And so, you know, this, if you guys look in the Loomis book, you'll notice that that there's this method of putting a pin through the head, which is good, but it's not always perfect. So in this case, the pin would go this way. But let me go back and first kind of explain how that works. Okay, so in the case of this guy that I'm drawing as the 3/4 view, the one thing that I like about, so what the Loomis does is it allows you to kind of situate the face before you get too far along. So in this case, what I'm trying to do is I'm looking at the top of his head and I'm looking at his chin, okay? And if I were to draw the top of this head, I can't really see where it is, but it's coming out of his chin, like kind of down here. And so once I have the kind of angle of his head, that's where his chin is. I could also just match the angle of his head this way if I wanted his chin to come down. But this is kind of the way that if I were to put a pin right through his chin and come out through the back of his head, this is kind of where it would be. Now, what he does is he also tries to figure out, well, where's the face? And so the face on this fella here, okay. So we have what he also has this kind of situation where he carves off the side of the ball to try and figure out, you're trying to figure out, whoops, I've got that wrong, guys. He's trying to figure out if most of our skulls are more or less a like a sphere, okay, at the skull part, and we were to kind of put a pin through like the top of the head. I'm going to adjust mine here with this guy. So if I come through the top of the head here and down and out, then what I'm doing is, and then what I'm doing is I've got a circle where I can start to map some of the features on. Now this would be the top of the head. I'll show you another way that I do it, but the rules are basically the same. So the Loomis method does this thing where you create a sphere, and then what you end up doing is you kind of, where's the nose, and then you start to bring the nose kind of down this way, okay? And so that's going to be and if I had another little spot, it would come around the outside. So this would be the arc that goes from my pin all the way down through the nose like that, right? And then his face is kind of doing something like this, right? So if I were to use my contour drawing method, I could actually create kind of a shape of where his face is. So this would be kind of like where his face is. The other thing the Loomis method does, which I think is kind of a weird thing, but it could be useful for some of you guys, is to look at the plane of the side of the head and just to sort of slice it, slice it off, right? And so what this allows you to do is to kind of slice off the edge, and then if that were like a thing, it would be kind of like I would have chopped off the little edge of my sphere, right? So that would be kind of the side of his head. I noticed that his head is kind of at a tilt this way. So I'm going to adjust my drawing a little bit. I could even have this come down, but it's kind of handy. It's, if you think about this little pin is kind of like a, if any of you guys do any kind of 3D modeling, you'll know that there's those kind of pins that allow you to move and torque the object forward and backward. This is kind of the same thing. So when doing the Loomis method, what happens is you end up kind of creating a form where you're mapping like, let me show you like this. Like, let's say I wanted to put a face that was kind of like looking up. Okay, so I'm going to have a pin. I'll just draw it for you here, like that, right? So if this is the top of the head, right, and then the chin would come down here, what I would do is I would create this line that comes down here and connects the two pin lines, and then down, right? And then I would be able to, then on this line here, what they do is they create this little, they do this little curve, which comes down, and then that's the chin, okay? So once you establish the point of view of your face, then you can get your chin going on in there, okay? Now remember, this is where the eyes will be, right? So my eyes, probably do a better job on my eyes, but my eyes will be here. The nose would be here coming out, right? Same lines apply as those other rules, right? So you can go one, and then the thirds rule, there's my mouth, right? And so now I have, and the other little trick is the divot that goes right there for your eye. You'll notice that there's little divots that kind of come like that. And that's where you kind of slice off the head like that. These are not, no one's face really looks like this. What these lines are for, when I do, like when I take that central eyeball line right there, and I bring it down, is it's just giving me a general idea of where the jawline is going to go. Now the jawline always starts right in front of the ear, and the ear is literally in the center of the head, believe it or not, Okay, oops, I'm breaking my own rules here. I'm kind of screwing up. So let's say here's my, here are my, my eyebrows. If I bring this around, there's the top of the ear, come down, top, bottom of the nose right there. And then what you can do is you can start to adjust, right? Maybe somehow somebody has an egg head or whatever. And this can go anywhere. So if it were on this one, here's my middle line right here coming across, right? Those will be my eyes, and then of course my eyes will be one eye's distance away. Now, when we're doing a 3/4 view, the eye on the far side is going to be a little bit closer in than this one. So I'm going to do the same thing here. I'm going to move this eye a little bit in and over. So there's my eyes there, right? Doing this kind of quickly. There's my nose coming in, right? So maybe my nose has a big hump on it or whatever. And then if I, of course, bring those lines down from the inside, then I can use those bubbles again. So I can kind of come in here, create my nose. If I go from here, here's my jawline, right? So I can go, and then I can, here's my jawline from the back in. Now I have a jaw coming in here. That's a lot of jaw, but it's okay. Here's the little divot. So 1, 2, up, down, right, up. So you can see this method. All you need to do is remember just a few little tips, and then you're off to the races. You can do pretty much anything. So check out that Loomis book. It'll give you some ideas. But the one thing I want to encourage you guys to do as drawers is to make sure that you don't copy someone's method so much so that it ends up becoming it ends up replacing your powers of observation. So for example, I noticed that was just too far just from looking at someone. And I can pull that in, right? And then over here is going to be the mouth, right? The edge of the mouth is going to line up with the center point of my, by the way, are you guys seeing the drawing camera? Because it's not green, that's why I'm asking. But,
yes, we can see the drawings.
All right, thanks, good. Sorry.
Professor, can I ask you a question? I'm so sorry to
Yeah, no,
interrupt.
don't be sorry.
How do we, because since I started drawing the faces, it looks more like alien-like.
Right.
I'm just
right. These look alien-like, don't they?
Yes. I'm
right.
just trying to figure out how I can obviously have it look more real.
Right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw that picture that I put up there. But I wanted to show you this. I totally agree with you. I feel like these methods end up creating the same look and feel over time. But the one thing I wanted to show you about these, you guys, is not that this is the only or the right way to do it, but that this is a way of how you can get the eyes, the nose, the mouth, and the ears in the right proportions to the head. So I want you to think about if this was Google Maps, this would get you like kind of to the city, but not to the details of where you want to get, right? So this is sort of the bird's eye view of what people have noticed over time in terms of the proportions, right? And this is the reason I don't do this. I usually don't teach this much in detail. I just give you like the overview, is because I find, like you're saying, Elizabeth, that it's like, it just looks like an alien. There's something fake about it, right? But I do feel like that there are these tools that you can use which can get you into the ballpark of the figure's face. So
no, I do like that it looks like very 3D in that sense. Like it does help to make it look like it's facing a different direction instead of just straight.
Yes, and so like, in other words, I wanted to show you guys this because this is just one method, which is why I'm not that big, why I'm not worried too much about giving you guys those books. A book is not the key to the kingdom or whatever. Like it's just one person's thoroughness of how they do it. And the more kind of levels of thoroughness that we have that I can introduce you guys to, I feel like that's going to help you, each of you, find your own way. And that's where your own artwork will really start to shine. So let me translate how the aliens could work to draw this fellow that we've got going on in the photo, and I'll try and do like a small version of him over here for you guys. Okay. So I'll just leave these guys here. That'll just be for reference. The main reason that I was showing you guys this is just how you might kind of situate the heads if you're not really sure, like, where do I begin? Like, I'm trying to give you guys anchor points. Okay. So now let me show you how I do it. This is sort of the out of the can version, these guys up here. But the way that I do it, let me just get a new sheet of paper. A little bit more room. So the way that I'll do this guy here is I start out doing the oval. So here's how I do the 3/4 view. What I do, and this is not going to probably be in any books or anything, but this is my hybrid version. What I do is remember how on the main form here I made an oval, right? Now what I'm going to do is when I look at the figure that I have on the page, I'm going to end up drawing an oval that mimics the head that I'm drawing. Okay. So I notice that his face is here. There's that little cut in. It comes up and over and down, and then like this. So it's sort of a lopsided oval. Okay. So I'm going to start out doing that here. And so what I start out with, I usually I just overhand with my pencil. Okay, I'll just start, and what I'm going to try and do is I'm starting to pay attention to and by the way, guys, this is what I'm looking at while I'm drawing. So that if you want, you can bring this up too. I'm staring at this photo while I'm drawing. And so if you want to bring that up side by side, you can do that too. Okay, so when I look at this guy, what I'm noticing is that if I draw an oval, right, kind of a lopsided oval like this, look at his chin. And if you lay your pencil on the screen, you'll notice that the chin is kind of at an angle like this. So if I go from his eye down, I've got an angle that kind of looks like this, and then it kind of shoots up. Okay, then there's his neck, which comes down. And then the jawline comes like this and up, and looks like there's kind of and if I look at the angle of the back of his head, it kind of has something that goes like this. So I end up looking at like angles a lot. The Loomis method and then the whatever the other guy's name is method, those are just different tools to kind of get to or look at the same exact thing. Okay. So what I'm trying to do is I'm making like a lopsided oval shape, if I were to put it in kind of like a really generic terms. And as such, now here's where I want to start to use some of those proportional tools that I showed you guys before with this, right? Where you have the center point, and then you have the center point. You draw that kind of that axis, right? So I still have an axis, but what I'm doing is as I'm looking at him, I'm trying to find the center line of his head. And so if I were to do that, what I'm trying to do is this is like from the Loomis style method. I'm going to bring this line up and around. Okay. And that's going to be my central axis point. Notice that I had to use a few lines to kind of eyeball whether or not I was on track or not. Okay. And so this could probably be a little bit further over. So do you see what I'm trying to do? I'm trying to find, if I were to slice this guy's head in half, if he was made of clay, where would the cut happen, right? So and so I'm gonna start shooting all this other stuff in later. That's not a line, don't worry about that. Okay, I'm gonna start shooting all this stuff in later, and but this is pretty much my oval. Okay, this part right here. And now this oval that I've put on here, I'm going to totally adjust it. So I'm not even sweating if it's inaccurate yet. All I'm trying to do is try to get that center point of the face coming down so that I can make an accurate representation of his eyes. Now, in terms of the center, remember, like we're looking at the center of this. We're going to try to get this in the center. This is where I think the Loomis method is kind of cool because it allows you to kind of like with a particular perspectival approach to get that kind of central area. Now, if I look at his eyes and I lay my pencil across the center of his eyes on my page, I have something that looks like this. So I can already tell that my attempt at doing that is not correct. So what I want to do is I want the eye level to actually be representative of the image that I'm drawing. And this is where I feel like the Loomis method falls down because people get too hung up into, oh, I've got to draw this circle and that arc and blah, blah, blah. And the thing is, you end up falling in love with your arcs and circles and stop paying attention to what you're looking at, right? And that's where you start getting the alien look because it's not what's really happening. So in terms of like using all these different methods, and there's like two other big methods and I forgot what they were called. But there's other methods where there's circles and there's facets and this kind of thing. So everyone's got a different approach. But what I like to do is just go with the fundamentals, and that is just the axes. So if I'm looking at this guy's face, I'm noticing that his face is kind of like, kind of the center point is like here. Okay, I'll get rid of this one. So I'm sneaking up, as I always say, sneaking up on my drawing, and I'm making mistakes. So I'm trying to give myself, where is that center point? All right. So if I were to kind of lay my pencil along the page and I look at those eyes, yeah, they're definitely at a skew, right? So now what I want to do is I just want to start to shoot in the nose. So if I can get a line to represent where the eyes are going to go, or where they're more or less where they're going to rest. Yeah, it looks good. Even though, when I look at this photo of this man, it looks like his eye that is on the right, that's closest to me, is almost like low, but the other eye is much lower. But here's what's different about doing so when we do this, I usually try to establish the location of the eyes first, and that helps me locate the nose. But when you're doing the 3/4 view, one thing I've noticed is that it helps me to first approximate where my eyes are, and especially the angle of the eyes, okay? Oops, eyes. Angle of the eyes. Which way is it going? Is it straight across? Is it up and down? Because once you have that, then you pretty much have the dimensions of the face. So because the eyes are slightly different with regard to a 3/4 view, I can still do this thing where I have the halfway point and then I kind of do like the thirds, right? So if I do like the thirds, now I end up making this a little bit longer as the 1/3 port. So there's 1/3 here, 1/3 here, and then here's the chin. But I'm not, again, the chin's gonna change. Everyone's chin's a little bit different, right? Everyone's lips are a little bit different. Everyone's nose is a little bit different. But the placement is more or less the same, okay? Length, width, it's gonna shift. So now I have the nose, and now what I can do is I can look at I can either use my pencil in real time and kind of map it up against a person's face so I'm looking at them, or I can just lay it up on top of my screen, and I notice that his nose has an angle that's something like this, comes down. And then there's a nostril here, okay, comes here. He's got a high contrast. Now, because his face is turned, if I were to line up the edge of my pencil on the edge of his nostril, right? And it's more or less like straight up and down like this. That's kind of where his eye starts, right? So he has a very broad nose this way. And then then I'm looking at the edge of his face here. It's not a lot of space, but I'm going to adjust this part. And so if I were to do again, like another one of these kind of methods, I could use the circle method again to create the nose here. Again, these are just tips and tricks, guys. It's not the only way. It's just one way of maximizing all the techniques that are out there. Okay. So what I like to do is I like to get the nose in, because that's going to help me locate the eyes and make it so he's not looking cross-eyed, which a lot of times happens. So if you choose, you can use that bubble method to get the nostrils, and I'll show you that here. But once I get, sorry. So once I have this space here, and I'll kind of create like a line there. I want it to match with the eyes, and then there, okay? So notice that my angles here, once I have the angle of the eye, the angle of the nose and the angle of the mouth are all going to match. They're going to be parallel, okay? Sometimes you'll get someone's mouth a little bit strange, but that's something that you really want to pay attention to. Okay. So now that I've laid my pencil on the photo, and I'm eyeballing it on my page, now I can kind of start to get the nose in. There's not a lot of contrast in this photo, so I'm going to do my best. There's high contrast in this photo. There's not enough contrast on the other side there. This is a very high contrast photo. Sorry, I misspoke. So here's the nostril here coming down. That's where the light is. It comes across. Okay. And I've noticed that that his chin, if let's say this will be his chin right here, what I like to do is I like to start to draw kind of vertical. So if I make a vertical down here, if you lay your pencil on the page straight up and down, parallel with the edge of the photo, you'll notice that the edge of the nostril and where the chin turns are more or less like straight up and down. So if I were to do that, there could be the edge of my nostril right here, or at least the shadow part. Okay, bring that around. Okay, here. And then, of course, there's no nostril there. That's going to be up there. Now this is all in shadow right here. Okay. And so what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to look at relationships. So remember that there's a couple of stages in any drawing. There's the first stage where you lay down the basics. And for that, you rely on some of the techniques that we learned in terms of the proportions, like using the angles of the eye, finding the center of the skull, taking that center line and splitting it into thirds to get the more or less approximation of where the nose ends and the mouth begins, right? And so now that I have the nose in, this is what's unique about doing the 3/4 view. Once I have the nose in, then I can start to play around with where the eyes are. Notice that on a 3/4 view on the image of this fellow here, his eyes, if his eyes are here, I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of draw those eyes in like this. That's going to be the eye socket. And then his eyelid kind of comes like this. Comes down. A lot of this is done, using just the shadow, because it's such a dense image. And then over here, you'll notice that his eye, it is the same. It starts there, but his eyelid is further over. Okay, so I don't think I have enough of his nose in there. That's more like it. Okay. And then the tear duct, I find, is also, so if I were to kind of do a lineup like that, it's tear duct down here, and then it looks like it's going down, but in fact it's not. It's like straight across his eye. Oops, looks like I made 20,000 lines there. Sorry, guys. His eyes coming kind of down and then up. And these kind of beautiful sharp lines here. This is like the time to erase, to go back, to correct, and get it all as kind of keyed in as you can. And then this eye here, he's looking away at us. So we have there. I think this is a little bit too far out. And then that's quite a small little space there. And then this is all in deep shadow here. Yeah, it's kind of a heavy eyelid above. Clean that up. So now we're starting to get into the neighborhood of this fella's smirk or whatever he's doing. He's like, kind of looks kind of like, what are you guys doing? That's what I mean. And then here's that kind of his lid, and it comes down like that. And then the other lid around the side like that, right? Okay. So I feel like, more or less, it kind of looks like his eyes, right? And I'm just really trying to get that kind of basic kind of vibe in right now. Now I could tell that I have a little bit too much of an arc on his nose. And by the way, what I like to do is I like to get rid of all these guidelines after a while, because they end up, again, kind of making it look a little bit robotic, but I sometimes leave them in if I just going to refer to them. And at a certain point, like I told you guys before, is that your drawing itself becomes the reference point for the subsequent choices that you make. So at a certain point, you're going to stop with all of the, Loomis method, this method, that method, Gilbert's method, blah, blah, blah. You're going to go with your own personal method. And your own personal method is going to be a hodgepodge of techniques and your own style, which is totally legit. Okay. I'm not going to sweat too much the shadows right now, because what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to get the spirit of this guy's nose in there. Now it's all in shade, but if I were to look at his nose and I use the kind of bubble method, I put a bubble here, I put a bubble here, and then the bubble there would go there. And that helps me kind of figure out the nostril situation. And it also helps me kind of sort out that shadow. Because there is a pretty intense shadow there. Okay. Now I do notice that the cheek on this side right here is a little bit far away, so I could bring that in to a more reasonable place. Again, this is where the uniqueness of every human being comes into play. And then there's this kind of curve that comes in on the eye and then up. And that's where there's always that little notch. Okay, there's always that little notch, and the little notch, usually its apex is right at the eye level right there. So, and again, I'm just shooting all this in just to try to get a generic idea of my subject matter's look and feel. Okay. Now his lips, quite full lips, and then if I look at those lips, now here's where the 1/3 rule kind of, the 1/3 rule, this is the mouth, but the top of his lips. So if I were to make a straight line, if I were to kind of if I were to use my pencil straight up and down, and I could compare it to the edge of the eye, I would notice that the edge of the eye is also where there's that corner of where his chin meets the neck. So I'm looking for clues. Okay, I'm looking for clues. So if I do that, see it's parallel here. That's where the neck is. Okay. That's, and then if I were to kind of create like a little straight line, his mouth, the bottom of his lip, here's my center line, right? It's right about there. Now what I want to do is lay my pencil on my source material to look again at these, the mouth and the eye level are going to match. So I want to make sure that that level is correct. The mouth comes all the way to the end of the face right here. It comes up. And then I do want to know what that bit is in between. I know it has a name. And so his lips are going to come up here and down. And okay. More or less, but again, like keep in mind, guys, I'm trying to match these angles, right? You guys can do that same exact thing. No sweat. You guys got this, right? Now, it looks like this is just too far out. So what I can do is I can pull this in because his eye, I can notice that his eyelashes are pointing out there. This little bit right here comes out at an angle. See here, I'm doing my correction again, right? Doing a little bit of correction. Coming in. Okay. And then the eye comes up here. There's the eyebrow. Cut in a little bit like that, and then up. Okay. So this is now. So now I guess what I'm saying is that at this point, this is where I'm trying to do some adjustments so that I can better match what I'm looking at. Okay. And little details like, so for now, what I'm doing is I'm transitioning from my generic remembered skills that, you know, you learned in either a book or here or wherever. So the generic drawing skills that you learn in a class will get you like maybe, I don't know, 60, 80% of the way there. Take what you want, take what's useful, and chuck the rest. Or come back to it, either way, okay? And so I'll notice now what I'll start to do is I'll use some of that negative space techniques that we had before, and I can just start to move in and start to color in the areas that I notice are very dark. Now his lower lip is in quite a bit of shadow, but there are these little cuts that come down, which are kind of nice. Right? And then there's a deep shadow underneath. So I don't want to worry too much about the shadows right now. But what I am, because the shadows are such an integral part of this drawing, they actually end up creating a lot of the shapes that we're drawing on that end up becoming stuff that's like the chin or the, right? So. Very elegant lines in this. This comes out ever so small like that. Okay. And then this part right here grows a little bit. Down. So here's the middle of his nose. This is going to come here, then up, then over. And then there we go. Now it's starting to look the part. Okay. So, you know, this didn't really take that much skill. I just was paying attention to kind of some of the rules of the road that I've been trying to kind of show you guys. Now in this sense, like, you know, there's so much shadow here. Coming in, going to come up here, and I can shoot in that wrinkle that comes across its head like that. And then here's his hair. I'm going to just kind of block it in. Okay. I think my head's a little bit too wide right here. And I'll also notice that it has to go up quite a bit more too, because I don't want him to have like a shrunken forehead issue. His neck is in shadow down here. His ears over there, so I'm trying to just fill out his head to make him look how he's supposed to look. So this is obviously too not quite there yet. It's more like it. So now what I can do is I'm not quite there yet. I think his head needs more room back here. But I'm just kind of generally kind of filling in the hair. I can tell that it's a little bit off, but I can adjust that later. So you can use your eraser to kind of correct. And all right. Just as with, so here's another thing you can start to look at are these shapes that are created with the shadows. So there's a beautiful shadow that comes up on his eye like this, and then down. And then there's a shadow that's here, that's his brow. And then there's a shadow that comes up here. And and by the way, I'm borrowing from this other method, which I don't remember, but it's like looking at the facets of the face and all this kind of thing. So, but again, different people have different facets. So it's not like all these, you can look at any number of drawing folks online, which I encourage you guys to do. There's amazing stuff out there. But just understand that those are just one person's version of how to do it. It's not the version, right? And if people try to test you on it, just be like, you know what? I got my own way. But yeah, I'm aware of that method too. So don't let people make you feel bad. So now what I want to do is I want to locate his ear. And if I just as when I showed you guys this, right? Got your eyebrows come across, line up your ears, right? Same thing here. Got our eyebrows. We cut across from, say, like the top of this shadow across. That's where his ear is going to be. Okay, his ear is going to be all the way out here. So his ear. So it looks like a lot of this is in shadow. So some of you guys who are very adept at using your erasers will find this. I'm going to go ahead and just shoot in some of this shadow here. And again, the shadows have shapes too, right? So we want to try to get the shadows in there. And this line here, I don't really like it. I'll come back in and fix it up. But I did want to get these ears in here. And again, the ears are really big, right? So it kind of comes out and then down. And what I can do with my eraser on the fly, if you guys want, you can just kind of cut your eraser to give yourself like a sharper edge like this, see? And now I have like a sharp edge on my eraser, and I can come in here. So what I'm doing here is I'm starting to pay attention to the shapes of the highlights and the shadows, right? I can get this over here and try to clean this up a little bit. And then of course, from the bottom of his nose over, that's where his earlobe's gonna be. It looks like his earlobe kind of still cuts up a little bit like that. I can also use my eraser like this, try to get some of those, some of that shape in there. It's on the inner ear. When it comes to shadows, you guys, sometimes it's just so hard. It's like inscrutable, you know, like just like, what the heck am I looking at? But over time, what you end up doing is looking at the different shapes of the shadows so that eventually it becomes an ear. So for example, like if I were just to draw the shapes of the shadows that I'm seeing, kind of be something like this. And sometimes I do this, I'll just draw some of the outlines of the shadows themselves to try to give me a little bit of purchase on like, what am I looking at? Like, I can go into a darker color here. Very dense color. I've switched pencils. Okay, and then there's this bit here. This bit kind of comes around. And this part here is a bit thicker. At a certain point, you'll start thinking, God, this does not look like an ear, but then you're going to step back and be like, whoa, it totally works. It's funny because sometimes I draw and then I get really discouraged because I'm like, this doesn't look like anything. I hate it. I suck. And then slowly but surely, there's just like one little bit that ends up kind of cropping up for you. And you're like, I'm a master. I love it. You know, because sometimes there's just little cues, visual cues that you'll give yourself in the drawing that'll make you feel like, yeah, I freaking did that. It's great, man. So right now I'm unhappy with my ear. It does not look like what I'm looking at, mainly because I don't have enough of the value built in. And so if I wanted to try to make myself feel slightly better, I could come in here. This ear is going to take me probably a little bit of time because while there's not a lot of information there, there's definitely enough where what's there is so salient, so important that if I don't put it in, you know, it's just not going to look right. Yeah. So his brows come like that. Yep. So we're running up on time here, guys, but the thing you guys can probably tell is that you can't judge your drawing until you've got, you know, a lot of these shadows put in. So up in here, once these shadows are put in, a lot of the logic of the drawing will start to come into focus for you. So I'm going to go ahead and put in there's like a little tuft, looks like back here. And there's this neck that comes down. And if I were to look where his shoulder starts to pop over, and I were to lay my pencil across the photo, it looks like it kind of begins to kind of pop over right about there. It's not even that significant, and then it kind of comes down. So I do have some news. I guess I should put it on the forum too, but oh, by the way, this is a little bit too short, but I do have an appointment to get my surgery finally in May 2nd. But they did say that if something opens up, they're gonna slot me in. So I don't have anybody lined up yet to take over the class if that occurs. Hopefully it won't be delayed. But you guys will be in great hands no matter what. Comes up there, right? Now, a lot of times, just with everything else, the shadows only seem to make sense when they're all put in. So don't judge your drawing right away, because some of these shadows will not make sense until you've had a chance to really fill in, you know, the rest of what you're working on. And there's a lot of really beautiful details in here too. So I'll put this up if you guys want to kind of do this drawing too. There's a whole lot of really interesting wrinkles and kind of stuff going on here in the darkness that is almost indiscernible, you know, underneath all the shadows of the figure itself. A lot of this is in shadow too. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and, you know, like a lot of you guys are kind of getting into using your eraser to take away some of the marks. That's also totally okay. So the shadows are really a key part of this whole endeavor on this one, because there's so much shadow. Very beautiful photo also. Okay, and then of course if I get in there, and I can probably try to do a much better job, but what I would do is, so this is like, you know, most of the way there, you guys, but what I would do is now it's going to be a negotiation between my eraser and the rest of the drawing. So hopefully that'll help you guys get there. But again, like I just wanted to sharing with you guys all that information so that you guys can kind of figure out what's the best way for you, what's your working way, what's the way that you like the best to work. You know, it's going to be a whole negotiation with the eraser, with your pencil, and so on. So once you get some of the basics in, you know, you should be able to pull out a pretty decent 3/4 view drawing. And on Wednesday I'll go over the portrait side. But if you guys want to take a stab at it, it's the same rules, right? 1, 2, 3, eyes in the center, ears, and all the rest of it. Okay, and so. And I also noticed that there's just some other stuff here that I need to kind of fill in and work on. So that's the draw along for today. I hope that helps. Definitely look at those books that I put up for you guys to check out, and I hope they help. Again, they're not going to be there for very long, so you know, try and do your best to oops, let me try to get my camera back here. Switch camera. There we go. All right, so that's it for the day. Hopefully that helped you guys get a little bit of a better idea of how you can kind of use some of those same proportional rules that we have used in the past to apply to the 3/4 view, and then you'll also use it for your portrait view, or for your side view, profile view. I don't know why I said that. And then I'll double check to make sure I didn't ask you to draw the backside of somebody's head, which I guess that could be useful for something, but I'm not sure what. Any questions, guys? All right, well then I'm going to sign off. It's about time, so have a great Monday, and I'll see you guys on Wednesday. And maybe what we can do is a progress check. Okay, take it easy, guys.
Really quick, I'm supposed to be leaving the East Coast on Wednesday to
Okay.
start heading.
That's
So
okay.
I may not be in class. I know I've missed a lot. I'm so sorry.
No problem. We'll I'll just post the video so you can look at the videos, and hopefully those will help you out. But
Thank
have
you
a
so
good
much.
move. It's very stressful. Keep your sanity.
Oh, I'll try.
Drink
Thank
lots of
you.
water. I don't know what else to
Serious.
say. All right.
Bye.
Bye now.